Okay, welcome everyone to today's session as part of Get Ready to Graduate Week. What I would really like to start with is if everyone's happy, our colleagues from the different companies today, if you're happy just one by one to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourselves and the company that you've come from today. Shall we start with Marie?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us today, and thank you for coming along. Hopefully this will be a really interesting panel. My name is Marie. I am from the Altitude Foundation. I'm the Programme Manager at the Altitude Foundation, and we are quite a new charity. We started 3 years ago, and we are an educational charity. So what we do is we work with students from disadvantaged areas to try and support them to pursue an interest in digital and tech. We work very closely with industry and university partners across the Northeast to ensure that disadvantaged students don't get left behind in the current tech boom, and also that they have a greater awareness of the opportunities that are available to them, as well as just doing some fun coding exercises and kind of hackathons with them as well.
Thanks, Marie. Hannah, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. So good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Hannah, and I'm the Operations Manager and Community Liaison, difficult word to say, at Citizens Advice Sunderland. So you may never have heard of the Citizens Advice Network. So we're a national charity, but also formed of lots of local independent charities too. We're uniquely placed to support clients with a number of different issues. So we're able to give free confidential advice and information to local residents, and we're able to help in a number of different areas, ranging from debt advice to benefit advice, consumer issues, housing issues, family and relationships. So there's quite a lot of different areas that we can help people to find a way forward with. So yeah, we advised 2.8 million people last year during the pandemic, and yeah, we're here kind of as that kind of first port of call really for people in the community. Thank you very much.
Fab, thank you so much, Hannah. Nick?
Hi, so my name is Nicola Emersley. I'm a lead recruiter for the British Army. So I guess most people will have heard of the Army. I look after officer recruitment, so looking after the recruitment of Army officers across the North East and Yorkshire. We have a team that operates across the UK. So we look after officer roles, which is about leadership and responsibility across our 7 different career streams. So that's everything from logistics, IT, HR, so maybe some areas that you wouldn't have necessarily thought of when you first think of the Army. It's not just about those combat roles, there's so many different opportunities. We've also got over 200 different soldier jobs, so things like HR or medical, there's lots of different opportunities, so hopefully giving a bit more information about different roles in different areas.
Brilliant, thanks Nicola. And Shaz?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me back. It's twice in the week now we're on it, Tom, so really appreciate the invite back even. Yeah, so my name's Shaz Sadiq. I'm a police sergeant with Durham Constabulary. Ordinarily, I work as a police custody sergeant. However, recently I took on the additional role of positive action lead, whereby we were trying to bring a more diverse culture to Durham Constabulary, looking at where our improvements could lie in and around various levels of the organisation. So what we're also looking at is the recruitment of special constables and special PCSOs, police community support officers, who work alongside police officers on that on the front line, neighbourhood policing teams on that voluntary basis. So as a special constable, for argument's sake, you will have the same powers and responsibilities as a regular police officer, and same goes working as a PCSO. So looking forward to say the next hour or so as to what we talk about. Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you so much everyone. And already you can see it's really nice to have 4 different perspectives and avenues for opportunities and in this sector represented here today, so thank you. I guess my first question to you all is going to be, what do you like about working in the public non-profit sector? What is it that you like working in this area? Maybe Nicola, do you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. I think there's an amazing opportunity to make such a big difference in this sector. A lot of the work that I'm sure all 4 different organisations do that are here today just have such an impact, both locally and across the UK and overseas as well. And especially in the officer career, you get such a big responsibility early on in your career. Obviously, you go through the training and kind of develop your skills, but you really do take that responsibility early on in your career when you do get a massive opportunity to make a huge impact, which is really rewarding. It obviously can be quite a challenging career, but it is really rewarding and massively varied as well. So the variety of work that you can get involved in really kind of develops your skills across lots of different areas. So yeah, I would say the challenge is really rewarding, and the opportunity to make a big impact is really great.
That's great, Nicola, thank you. And it speaks volumes that you can get that from such a range of opportunities and different role types, but also, you know, that obviously means that from different backgrounds, disciplines, that the university courses as well, you know, there's for everybody there. Marie, what would you say that you like most about working in this sector?
I totally agree with Nicola in that the opportunity to make a difference is a big selling point. It is really satisfying knowing that your work does help people and supports people, and in our case particularly allows young people to maybe imagine a future that they weren't thinking about before. And on that point, the other thing that I love about which is maybe specific to working in my part of the non-profit sector, is working with young people. It's never boring and it's always rewarding, even when it's challenging. It can be really, really hard, and I don't want to undersell the challenges ahead, but they are fun, they're engaging, they're curious, they're interested, and it makes you be those set things to keep up with them. And I do think that keeps me on my toes and keeps me engaged. So yeah, I'd say sort of that challenge, and then being able to make a difference. Those are the big things that I appreciate about the sector.
It's so wonderful to hear that your job, you still find it interesting and engaging, and you know the challenges are always worth it. And I can see everyone nodding along. It seems like that's across the board. Hannah, do you want to come in on that? What is it that you like about the work that you do in this sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of echoing what Nicola and Marie have already said about, you know, kind of no 2 days being the same. And the variety of roles that you have within the third sector. So we're quite a small organisation, and kind of how we're structured, although we're quite big nationally, at a local level, there's around kind of 30 to 40 of us for staff and volunteers. And so because of that, it means that you kind of get an opportunity to try lots of different things, and kind of have different opportunities for fundraising, community engagement, you know, media work, as well as client work, and you know, kind of that advice side of things too. So it's very kind of varied and flexible, which is kind of why I really enjoy it. Yeah, role opportunities can be incredibly diverse as well, which kind of is a really good thing for me. You do have to be a jack of all trades, a master of all, being part of a small organisation, but it's really rewarding, absolutely. And I think kind of in terms of the third sector, I kind of landed into it and didn't realise the amount of opportunities that there were. When I kind of graduated from university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so actually being part of the third sector, it gave me the opportunity to have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas and find out what I enjoyed. So yeah, so I think that's probably the main thing for me personally.
That's great, Hannah, thank you. And it's something I think we'll touch on later, that kind of, there's so many of us, certainly I was the same, when you finish university and you're going through it and not really knowing, and that's absolutely fine. Many people don't know, or maybe you have an idea of what you want to do, and actually you land in something that you get a real passion for, and that seems to be something that this sector really does bring out, the kind of making a difference really ignites that passion in people, right? Shaz, would you like to give us your kind of perspective on that, what it is that you like about this area, please?
Yeah, sure. For me, when it comes to policing, it is something I wanted to do from a very young age. So the incentive was always there for me to actually join the police service, because it sounds like the old cliche, you actually want to help people, do some good around with people you're working with, your communities, and then looking at career opportunities, career progression. Certainly during my probationary period, I started off with the Metropolitan Police in London initially. I was given opportunities to work in CID, safeguarding departments, traffic department, also road policing departments. And there's so many opportunities you have as a new starter within the police as well, around career development opportunities. Once you've completed your initial probationary period of 2 years, you can look for lateral movements into specialist departments. You can sit the sergeant exam, go for promotion. So again, it's about helping people. One of my roles I did was working as part of the Integrated Offender Management Unit, which looked at identifying those people causing the most harm in the community. More often than not, it was drug or alcohol related. But what we did was, as a partnership approach, it was the police, probation, prison service, drugs, alcohol services, a number of agencies, housing, mentoring. We would say to that person, we can help you through your critical pathways as to whatever issues you're having. We can provide you the help and support to try and reduce your life of crime. Fortunately, there was a number of times where people actually said, yeah, I actually need the help. They actually took the help. And some of those offenders, we managed to get them through a 12-step recovery program as well. So now they are leading an abstinence-based life where they just, I would describe them as they've got jobs, working full-time, they've got their families back, because again, that has a massive impact on people's mental health and well-being. And those ex-offenders are now actually helping Durham Constabulary to go out and visit those current offenders to say there is a route out of this madness you're in at the moment involving drugs and alcohol. So yeah, to me, I guess it's the diverse nature of roles within policing, which you don't always hear about, because it tends to be frontline policing, response, CID, safeguarding, traffic, firearms. There are so many different departments within policing, even within small force like Durham Constabulary, where you can advance your own career options.
That's great, thank you. And echoed across the board there that, you know, it's perhaps a bit of myth busting around this, where there might be preconceptions, there may not be, but there may just be that idea about a certain company or a certain sector where you feel like there's only one or two things, unless you want to really do that, it's not for you. But already we can see within each of your areas, there's a wealth of things you can get involved with. And by the sounds of it, when you join, that movement is possible within. So you nicely segued, Chaz, thank you. I guess just thinking about where our finalists and graduates are at the moment, if they're looking to apply, how important it is for those people that are potential candidates for volunteering or paid opportunities or schemes to have that relevant work experience, and I guess what that would look like as far for you in your area of work. Okay, Shaz, go.
Yeah, no problem, Rona. Yeah, certainly. I mean, early on, I touched about the opportunities you have as a volunteer joining Durham Constabulary, such as, I'll start on the special constable. As a special police constable, you work alongside regular police officers on response policing or neighbourhood policing, and you have the same powers as that regular police officer. So it's like you're in uniform, you do the patrols, you're attending people's home addresses, you're addressing their concerns, because don't forget, whether you're a special constable or a full-time police officer, that person might be there, and they could be, they've hit that personal rock bottom and they don't know who to turn to, and you're there to provide that support, help to that person, trying to address those concerns and issues. So it is a responsibility, and to me, that is massively rewarding. It doesn't matter whether you're a regular police officer or a special police constable. That sense of personal well-being you have when you help someone, it's massively rewarding. Same goes for the PCSO's roles, the voluntary PCSO role. You're working alongside neighbourhood policing teams, addressing a lot of those issues around antisocial behaviour, neighbour disputes, youth causing annoyance. But again, it's about having that problem-solving approach. So it's working together with the community, local partnerships, your colleagues to say, okay, you've identified a problem in this area and how you can work together. And it's about and you are obviously part of a wider team as well. It is not the fact that you're a special constable or a special PCSO. You are not part of our team. Within Durham Constabulary, you are part of that team. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Some of our special constables actually work with the road policing unit, so they drive on the traffic cars. Again, those skills can be developed as you progress through the rank of special constables. But again, having that exposure in the role of special constable or PCSO, it can hold you in such good stead if you actually want to apply for the role of police officer, because in the application form, it's evidence-based, decision-making, problem-solving, communication, some of the subjects you can touch on as well. So again, it's about how do I evidence that? And to be fair, the evidence you can provide from your role as a special constable or a PCSO you've been doing on a voluntary basis, it provides that additional platform for you to actually fill in that form to say, yes, I've got the evidence here. And the good thing about the role of special constable and PCSO is that you work the hours you want to work. It's not to say that, okay, if I can say, Rona, you're a special constable, we're expecting you to work 16 hours a week. No, it doesn't work like that. It is looking at, okay, what fits into your lifestyle, as in if you're working full-time somewhere else, you're going through education, as with our university students here are. Okay, so when could you potentially be free? And more often than not, it's likely to be towards the weekend. So that will give you more exposure in dealing with the nighttime economy as we come out of lockdown. So yeah, that's just I guess a snapshot of the voluntary options available.
Thanks, Shaz. That's great, and a really good way of gaining first-hand experience in that area, isn't it? Marie, what would your thoughts be on kind of the importance of work experience from your perspective and what that might look like for you?
Well, I mean, I think one of the good things about kind of the work we do is that we actually look at quite a wide range of work experience. So because a lot of the work that we do as Altitude Foundation is around event delivery, is around session, like teaching kind of things. So any sort of tutoring experience, any kind of work experience, organising events. So that can include things like if you are a member of the society and you're regularly organising events for the society, or if you're taking part in charity fundraising, that kind of stuff is really, we really appreciate that. And that's one of the things that we would be looking for when we're recruiting. We do also have volunteering roles with Altitude Foundation. So our volunteers are, they are indispensable. They make the work that we do possible. So we have current Newcastle students who are volunteering with us, who are mentoring students. So they're sort of supporting them, which has been so crucial, particularly obviously in this past year. So they're mentoring them and supporting them through their academic achievement. We've got students going through GCSEs right now who are being mentored. They also come along to our events and provide extra support. Before lockdown, we were doing a project called a coding project, which was giving the students an opportunity to kind of code their own program. And our volunteers were there with them every step of the way, kind of helping them brainstorm, thinking about what was possible in terms of their coding, trying to get them, pushing them to sort of think beyond their limits. So our volunteers do a range of things, and we really think of them as kind of role models for our students. So that's a great opportunity to kind of get to know us, get to know the work that we do, get a chance to work with the students, and then think about whether you want to recruit, come in on board with us. And the other thing that I should mention is, of course, code clubs, which are huge. They're running remotely as well. If you want, you can have a look at Code Club's website, and they'll give you a chance to kind of, if you want to do a bit of one-off volunteering, they're a really nice way of kind of going in and doing an afternoon or doing a morning on a weekend and getting a sense of like, what's it like to work with young people? What do you need to think about when you're sort of delivering a session? And it's great. It's a great experience.
That's brilliant. Thank you. It's such a great way for people to get a really good wealth of experience, but also supporting and finding out if that's something that they want to follow through in a career with. Nicola, do you want to give us a bit of an insight from your perspective, kind of how important it is to have that relevant work experience and the types of things that you might look for.
Thank you. So we wouldn't look for any specific qualifications or work experience. So as I mentioned before, the vast variety of opportunities in different areas, you would just need to kind of meet some minimum eligibility requirements, but we don't need any specific qualifications or experience for a lot of the different areas, apart from things like our professionally qualified officer routes, where you're talking about like vets or doctors or dentists. We would be more specific with those kind of areas, but joining other areas, you wouldn't need any specific qualifications or work experience. Having said that, I think work experience and any kind of different things that you can get involved in, especially whilst you're at university, is a really great opportunity, just to kind of demonstrate that potential and kind of show what you have outside of qualifications. So our assessment process is evidence-based assessment, similar to what Shaz says. It's about demonstrating those skills and characteristics that we would look for as part of the role. So anything that you can do to kind of develop those skills, whether it's communication skills or teamwork, they're always going to be important in a lot of jobs that you're looking to apply for. And I think university is a great opportunity where you kind of get access to those opportunities, those ways to maybe spend any spare time that you have, or different organisations that unfortunately isn't always possible when you kind of leave university, that you might look back and wish that you'd done more of that kind of thing outside of your lectures or any other kind of things that you've got going on as part of your course.
Yeah, and it's such an important point, isn't it, that these things are totally worthwhile, and you might not think that doing that event with the society or whatever it is that you're kind of involved in or interested in can all really help that and really help build your skills and your kind of personal profile and your CV. So a really important point that you get involved and make sure you sell yourself when it comes to getting into the sector. Hannah, what would you want to contribute when you're talking around the kind of experience?
Yeah, of course. So volunteering, as it's already been mentioned, is a great way to gain relevant experience and those transferable skills. For us, we've got a range of different kind of volunteering opportunities at Citizens Advice. So we've got kind of advice orientated roles that are client facing, often one-to-one with a client to explore their issues and then help them to find a way forward. And we've also got kind of behind the scenes roles as well, in terms of admin support, to be able to make sure that there's always admin in every role, unfortunately, these days. So to make sure that we free up as much of the advisor's time to be able to advise clients, and also fundraising and community engagement as well. So yeah, there's a vast variety of roles. We also kind of amalgamate a lot of client data, spot and identify issues that people are coming to us about, and we're able to actually engage with local stakeholders, policymakers, to be able to make positive changes that affect everyone's lives. So we also have volunteering roles and staff roles actually. We've got a research and campaigns committee to be able to support in that work and make a bigger difference really. At a national level, we've been able to change the law and make changes. So it really does make you feel like you're part of something, and often kind of that first step in joining an organisation, going through their volunteering recruitment process, and then kind of feeding into that organisation, it can give you the opportunity to then work for them. We've had a number of kind of volunteers who initially started, in fact a number were students, and have since decided to join us as an organisation as a staff member. So it doesn't necessarily, but it can lead to a career within that organisation, or you could sidestep and you'll have that relevant experience to be able to join another organisation and demonstrate how you've had that experience to be able to get that career and the job that you want in that organisation.
That's brilliant, and such a nicely a nice example of how you can see your career progression within this sector. It's not just volunteering, it's not just paid opportunity, it can be both, it can be either, but you know, you can really see that progression and make as much as you want of that within the area, and really make some big changes. I mean, there's some top level change that can make a real impact with everything that all of you are doing. And you've, I think, Nicola, you touched on this quite well, the kind of skills and attributes, and everyone's mentioned this. It would be nice to hear the kind of key skills and attributes that you look for as a company, but also kind of as in a sector more generally, what you consider the kind of key skills and attributes that you look for in candidates. Yeah, Nicola, do you want to kind of start us off with that?
Yeah, I can do, thank you. So I think our assessment process really recognises kind of the different strengths and weaknesses that people would have throughout the selection process. So really kind of valuing what everyone brings to the team. Obviously, the Army is such a large organisation. Teamwork is really important. So bringing all those people together and kind of demonstrating those teamwork skills is really key. And obviously working as part of teams, so you get a real sense of belonging, and kind of working with different people is a great part of the role. I think we hear that so much about the teams and the people that you work with make such a big difference to the job that you do. So I think teamwork is a really important skill. But as I said, kind of valuing the different strengths and weaknesses that different people have. So whether it's kind of communication skills, organisation skills, as I mentioned before, the officer role is more about kind of those leadership qualities, so the ability to lead and take responsibility and solve problems and make decisions. But then there's the soldier entry route as well, which is more about kind of the hands-on specialist skills. So you'd have a more specific day-to-day role, and that could be anything from engineering, as I said before, HR and finance, medical roles, so lots of different areas that you can get into. And as I said, they would all kind of value different strengths and weaknesses, and you would need different skills. So whether it's kind of STEM subjects that you're interested in, that would obviously be relevant for some of the engineering roles, or more of the softer kind of caring skills that people might have in terms of joining a medical support role. So yeah, a vast array of different skills and different qualities that would be recognised. And as I said, it's really about kind of bringing those teams together, all working to support each other, and really making a difference and helping each other succeed.
That's great, Nicola, thank you. And really important kind of point, isn't it, to learn about and sell what your own personal skills and what you feel those are, and how you can bring that and contribute to that area. It might help if you're uncertain about what career you want to go into, but it might also ignite something in you if you're, if you get excited about something. So something for everyone, definitely. Hannah, do you want to give us a bit of an insight from your side, kind of the skills and attributes that you would kind of look for?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of our staff and volunteers bring a huge range of skills, experiences and enthusiasm to their roles. And it's what keeps our advice services rooted in and engaged with our community, and really. And for us, it's very difficult to say that we're looking for X, Y, Z in terms of skills. There are some requirements, such as being able to use IT, because all of our roles, due to their nature, do require competency in being able to use computers. But in terms of specific skills, there are some transferable skills like communication skills and being able to work in a team, which is what Nicola mentioned. But I think in terms of us, we are also here to be able to support and nurture people's skills in terms of work experience and being able to be part of a team. It's a really good opportunity to be able to get the foot in the door, as it were. And in terms of kind of how we are able to support that, we don't have no experience is necessary to apply or have an initial chat about volunteering. We do have a recruitment process as part of volunteering and paid staff roles. And I think for me personally, I find it quite difficult to be able to sell myself. The idea of writing a personal statement was really difficult for me personally, to summarise my whole life in a page. And that's what a CV is, really, a few pages of kind of explaining your experience and what you can bring to the team. I think for any application, whether that's voluntary work or for paid work, you need to know that the organisation is right for you as much as you're right for the organisation. So you will have a feel for it by looking at their website, by having, sending through emails or any kind of contact that you have with that particular organisation as to whether you feel like it fits and that you feel like you are a good fit. And I think in terms of the skills and attributes, we've been able to see, volunteers who really lacked quite a lot of confidence really be able to develop and take on additional responsibility. So I wouldn't say that we've got specific skills and attributes. We do have some in terms of the IT and the ability to be able to give a day or 2 half days a week, but all training would be provided, and for us it would be kind of finding out what they would bring to the table, really, rather than us having a set criteria of ticking boxes for us.
Great, yeah, thanks, Hannah. And again, another great point, just making sure that your values match, and a lot you can learn once you're there. Marie, would you like to let us know a little bit about your kind of thoughts on the skills and personal attributes that you you value and you look for?
Absolutely. And I think kind of to echo Hannah, like, it is really about finding sort of people's strengths and kind of working with them to develop those. I think that's huge. We do have, because of the nature of our charity, you do have to have a passion for STEM and for computing and coding, and some IT skills, like at least some experience of code, just because it's the nature of the work. Although we do provide a lot of support and training with that as well. I would say the biggest thing for us is probably flexibility. We're a very small charity, so you're working across, the main thing will be working with students, but there is also opportunities to work across lots of different fields, including fundraising, including communications, including events management. So flexibility and a willingness to learn and a willingness to kind of adapt to situations is really big. And that's, I think sometimes people hear that and they think, oh, I don't know that I am incredibly flexible, but it's amazing what people can do. And that's certainly what we found with our volunteers, is that when you actually give people the chance to sort of to step up to those different challenges and to try different things, they often find that there's something that they never expected that they actually are really good at. And it's lovely to see, our volunteers discover skills that they didn't know that they had, and be able to develop those. So I would say kind of flexibility and a bit of an open mind. Hannah's absolutely right in terms of, like, you have to make sure that the organisation aligns with your values. You have to think about how you fit there, and that's why it's really good to do kind of, definitely email, definitely call organisations ahead of time and have a chat and kind of like figure out what they're about and what their organisation is like. But also have a bit of an open mind. Like, if you look at a role description and you're like, oh, I don't know that I fit 100% of these criteria, you can adapt, you can learn. A lot of these roles are designed, certainly ours is designed for someone coming straight from university. We're not expecting you to have a full skill set when you arrive. That's kind of part of our job, is to make sure that you gain skills while you're working with us. So
that's great to hear. Yeah, it's a bit around research and a bit about how you can grow as well, and how you can develop within that space, and being brave and taking on the challenge. And I think that's been the same across all 4 candidates. Shaz, would you like to give us a wee bit? You've sort of mentioned a little bit around this, but what kind of skills that you value and what you look for and the attributes that come with that?
Sure. Yeah, just obviously echo what everybody else has been saying. However, within policing, we also have the Police Code of Ethics, which it's available online. You can, if anybody searches for Police Code of Ethics, it tells you in great detail those values that anyone should have. And to be fair, it's nothing complicated. It talks about accountability, openness, objectivity, leadership, your honesty, your integrity side of business. So these are skills you would expect anyone looking to join the police service to have before they join. One big one for me is empathy. having that skill to actually speak to someone at a level and making sure that you have that communication with them as well. But like what everybody else is saying as well, though, Rona, it's about nobody joins the police service as a complete police officer. We're all learning every day. I've been in the police now over 20 years, and you pick up something new every day on that side of business. Now, the good thing about Durham Constabulary also is that Durham Constabulary has been voted outstanding 4 years in a row by the HMIC around policing effectiveness, efficiency, and legitimacy. So I think that holds us in very high value nationally as to how transparent we are as an organisation, how transparent our exec are, how that message is cascaded down from that exec through senior managers to line managers to officers out on the street as well. So again, what forms to me as part of that skill set is that when we're dealing with the public, all those interactions are recorded as well. So if an officer is seen to do a good job around an incident, that's highlighted to build that person's confidence. Again, there's areas of improvement as well. You can sit down and have that conversation. So to me, it's skills. It's something you're learning on a day-to-day basis. And like I said, when you join the police service, yes, it's a whole new world as well as you can imagine as well. So it's certainly not like any other job. But to me, it's about just coming into the police with that right positive mental attitude that you want to make that difference.
Great, thanks, Shaz. And across all four panel today, it's quite clear that you can join and have a really long and successful career, whatever your path, and it's there for the taking, you know, taking advantage of the skills you've got and taking advantage of the opportunities in front of you. We've actually had a question, which I'm really looking forward to hearing the answers to from one of our attendees today, which is, how did each of you get into your roles and progress to your current position? Which I think is a fab question. Does somebody want to volunteer to go first?
I'll start, Rona, not a problem.
Great, thanks, Shaz.
Say my policing career started quite a number of years ago now. Started with the Metropolitan Police in London. Now, I didn't do any voluntary police role prior to that. It was just I saw an opportunity and I applied. Unfortunately, I managed to join first time round. So at a quite a young age, I left the northeast of England, travelled down to London, and settled in London before transferring back to Durham Police. Now, some of the skills I gained in London, I was able to bring them back to the northeast of England, such as both driving skills. I was public order trained down there. And again, when you're in that big city, you work in central London, it's those people skills as well. You bring those back and you maintain those high level of communication skills whilst dealing with the public back here in County Durham. So to me, it was bringing those skills back, see what I could offer to my colleagues within Durham, and obviously learn from them also, because again, within policing, you learn from each other on a day-to-day basis. So my career progressed from response policing. I worked in various departments, as I mentioned before, integrated offender management unit, spent some bit of time working with CID. I went into a little bit of time spent with the Road Policing Traffic Department on top of that. I then sat the Sergeant exam, which was a national police exam. I was supported by my line manager to sit this national exam. Fortunately, I passed. I was put forward for promotion boards. Fortunately, I passed the promotion boards as well. So then I decided that, okay, I wanted to try something different within policing on the rank of sergeant. And I moved into the custody environment, which again, it's quite an intense environment, as you can imagine. You're dealing with some people who have some difficult personal circumstances. This could be mental health. It could be anything around drug alcohol issues. So a number of issues, but you're there to safeguard that person's welfare, to make sure the investigation is conducted fairly and expeditiously. But again, we have those additional support in place. So for me, it's making sure that our liaison and diversion mental health services are working with ourselves in custody to make sure we are providing that appropriate support. Again, I developed my skills within custody, working with all the partner agencies. Last year, I was fortunate enough to pass the National Police Inspector's exam. So again, I will get those career development opportunities on the rank of police inspector. So yeah, to me, it's about putting yourself forward, having the confidence to go for, but also I'm quite fortunate that I've always had good managers or supervisors, sergeants who give you that confidence to actually support you. That's vitally important in any organisation, to have those good people around you who say, yeah, do you know what? You'd be good at this. Why don't you try this as well? So yeah, so for me, Rona, it's pretty much about just having the aptitude, but also the fact that you're having the confidence, speaking to your peers and colleagues, as well as to what career development opportunities you can progress in. I know I've touched on it before, there's so many vast opportunities within policing itself, and it's just about what suits you best, and you will get support through that process. Something else that we do within Durham is, as soon as you become a police officer within Durham, you automatically get a coach and mentor, so someone to turn to for help and advice, as well as just giving you a bit of guidance around what career options you could have. So yeah, there's lots going on. Thank you.
That's great, and a really interesting route. Like you say, it sounds like you've taken those different avenues, but you've also had a lot open to you. And nice to hear the mentorings there as well, just to help guide you through it. That you might not know what you want to do, and just getting someone to support you through those decisions. Who would like to go next? I'm really interested to hear about all your different career paths. Go for it. Just unmute yourself and let's hear your different routes.
Okay, Fab, I'll go next then. I think that was a really good question, because it is different for everybody. So for me, personally, I naturally had a bit of a panic when I didn't have a job lined up when I was due to graduate. I actually studied at Durham University, and I got heavily involved in it was called Student Community Action at the time, but with volunteering for students. So I was a member of the executive committee and kind of in charge of different colleges at the university to try and encourage people to get into volunteering. Now, I didn't even really know much about the third sector when I was due to graduate, but I was actually kind of had a conversation with one of the paid members of staff at the university, who was about to appoint two kind of officer positions for kind of helping support different project leaders for student volunteering. Now I applied and I was successful for one of the positions, which was actually based at down in Stockton at their it's called Queen's campus. So it wasn't the job I wanted the Durham one, but I got the opportunity to do the Queen's role for a year. So I was managing a smaller number of projects, working with students to be able to set up new projects and things, and it was a really enjoyable role, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I then got the opportunity to kind of either move on or decide to reapply. I decided to reapply and went for the Durham position and was successful for another year. So I had kind of 2 years under my belt before I kind of left Durham. And having those couple of years, it meant that I was able to build up some experience and know kind of what I wanted and what, it gave me that breathing time really to be able to decide on what I wanted. A key kind of top tip that I found that was good for me is that I didn't really know what I wanted or kind of what jobs were available. And so the best thing I did was actually to Google jobs based on my personal strengths and the kind of job that I wanted. So I just kind of put in communication skills plus, people jobs and things like that, and actually just kind of did a search engine for it. Being aware of your own strengths and weaknesses can help you find your career. I was then kind of looked more into the volunteer coordination. And whilst I was at Durham, they funded me to do a volunteer management qualification, and kind of whilst I was working. And after that, the following year after I had 3 days, I think it was, in between working at Durham and kind of moving into my role as the volunteer coordinator at Citizens Advice Sunderland. And since then, I've progressed into the kind of operations manager internally. So I think for me, I didn't really know kind of where I wanted to be, but having that experience and being able to actually work out what my own strengths and weaknesses were, and being very aware of kind of what my skills and attributes are, enabled me to be able to find the career that I wanted.
That's great, and such an interesting route and really nice. I certainly was the same. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and a really valuable exercise for anyone to kind of just even if it's ruling out what you don't want to do, or assessing what you might want to do, but you know, really thinking about what can you offer. And that's a really great exercise. I think things like target jobs and prospects have got kind of functions like that. A Google search, you know, that's all it took, and there you can really start to hone in on what it is you can offer. So another really different but amazing job with 3 days in between as well. That must land, just go straight from one to
it was 3 days after I graduated. I got my first job at the university, and then 3 days after finishing that, I moved straight into working at Citizens Advice Sunderland. It was the best decision I ever made.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the rest is history. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. Marie, you had your hand up earlier. Do you want to give us your story? How did you get where you are?
It's a slightly circuitous route. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a bit of a strange one. But I had always volunteered, so I did quite a lot of university. But I always volunteered with young people all the way through. So I was involved when I was at Sussex. I was involved in a charity called All Sorts down there, doing some mentoring, but also going in and doing workshops with young people. When I was at Newcastle, I was very involved in the Partners Programme, which is Newcastle University's widening participation programme, if you're aware of it. And that really got me thinking, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to work with young people. So I did the obvious thing that you do when you want to work with young people, which is that I trained as a teacher, and very quickly found out that although I loved working with young people, I did not love teaching. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for my personality type. And so I spent some time doing sort of different freelance roles, essentially. So I've worked as a UCAS advisor. I've worked as a high attainment advisor. I have put together workshops for students on kind of for English literature, which was what my degree was in, on English literature and English language and history, and kind of I did a lot of that, which was really exciting and really interesting. And that kind of helped me refine what I wanted to do, because again, it was this thing of like, sometimes you have to try things and then figure out that they're not what works for you, and then think, right, but what parts of this work? Like, which elements can I use to kind of get me to the next step? And I don't, you know, having the teaching qualification has been super helpful for getting all of the subsequent work that I got. So it is also, that's, I suppose, one of the things that I'd like to put across is like, it's perfectly fine to do something and be like, almost, but not quite, or like, this isn't it, and actually I need to think about something else. Because every time you're doing a new job, every time you take something on, you're learning more about yourself and the kind of person that you are, and you're gaining critical skills that will be transferable. So I was working as a UCAS advisor when this job came up and I applied for it. And I initially came on as a youth engagement, and then was progressed to programme manager as the charity shifted, and as we sort of got a better sense of kind of what we were selling to the young people. So this like promoting to the young people, which has been really exciting. But all of that kind of flexibility and kind of changing directions a couple of times really has also helped me then now be much more able to change with what the job needs. So.
Yeah, that's great. And so important a point, isn't it? Not to be set back by that, you know, just take it on board and, you know, yeah, like you enjoy teaching, but okay, that's not the end of it, you know, there's still space for career within that, using all the same sorts of things that you're really good at, and find something else somewhere else that you can use that. And really nice to hear from everyone so far. Like, you've got, you know, you change as a person as well, don't you? You know, it's not just that you're kind of developing and working out, you're growing older and you are working out, and it's not like you're just going to necessarily land in that job that you're going to stick with. You know, you want to keep it interesting, and the change is as good as a rest, and all those sorts of important things to bear in mind when you're, you know, working out what it is and who you are. Nicola, what was your story? How did you get where you are today?
So I actually studied at Newcastle University, so I studied psychology, and then I was quite similar, never really knew what I wanted to do. So I guess the same as everyone else, just kind of thinking about what I enjoyed and my own kind of strengths and weaknesses. When I graduated, I worked with people with learning disabilities for a while. I worked in retail. I taught English in China for a year, so I lived overseas for a year, and then ended up working in recruitment, which I think, as we've kind of mentioned already, you just kind of find something that you really enjoy and that you I guess quite good at, because if you enjoy it and it kind of fits with your personality and your strengths, then it's something that you can kind of thrive and do well. I think my advice would be is, I guess, similar to what Hannah said about doing your research. And I guess a great tool that we have now, I think it's been used a lot more widely and from kind of strength to strength, is social media. And I know that social media can have its disadvantages, but definitely using social media as part of your career search is a great tool to be able to use. So things like LinkedIn, it's a great way to find out more about the different opportunities and the different roles available. So as we've already mentioned, like a lot of the jobs that you can do, you wouldn't even think of. I think you think of a lot of kind of the familiar jobs, but you wouldn't really know about the thousands of opportunities that are available. So doing that research and kind of finding out about different opportunities and different roles, and thinking about the kind of industry that you'd want to work in, or the kind of company that you'd want to work in, is really important as well. And I guess especially at the moment, a lot of companies are doing a lot online. So there's things going on virtually, so lots of virtual events, which is great to get involved in. Maybe you would have had to travel or take time away from university, or not being able to attend something because it clashed with other plans that you have, and now you can kind of take part in these whenever works for you, or whether it's things on company websites or on other platforms, Facebook. There's so much going on at the moment. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to find out more and kind of get involved in different things. As we mentioned, volunteering might be a good way to get those experiences. And I'm not sure whether Shaz is still there, but things like part-time roles. So we've got the reserves that you could do around other commitments that you have. So I guess it's just kind of being proactive and doing what you can to kind of get involved in different things to firstly kind of develop your skills and your experience, as you said, Rona. Getting involved in different activities. It might be something that you wouldn't even think of, working with a society or whatever, but you're learning so much. And sometimes the most challenging or hardest things are actually the most valuable, because you learn so much by kind of going through that difficulty to then come out the other side and to be able to know how to do it better next time, or to have some different ideas, and to have met new people or worked in different environments or different scenarios. It's a great opportunity. So yeah, there's never a bad experience or something that you shouldn't be doing, I don't think. And I think it's been about being open to different options, especially when you first graduate. You might not kind of think it's the right area or the right role, but you might kind of end up naturally getting to a better place from doing that. So yeah, definitely exploring different options and doing your research.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and so interesting, and myself included, that everyone's trajectory might not have been what you'd planned, and you may just find yourself sort of landing in a different avenue, or you go into a job thinking, oh yeah, this is great, communication's where I want to be, and suddenly you go off in a different direction. And using those tools and resources, whether it's your team around you, your mentors, or using things like LinkedIn, great point, you know, the functions on there, have a look where other alumni are, other people on your course, where did they go, might spark some ideas. Certainly for degree disciplines that maybe are slightly less vocational, music, you know, any courses that you might not kind of necessarily have a really clear career path, or even if you just don't know, you know, using those things. And I think Marie, you'd said, like, get in touch with people, have those conversations. You know, what's the worst that can happen? Just get a bit of conversation going, and you know, if it's not for you, it's fine. If it is, you could end up with a really valuable bit of experience. You might just volunteer for a little while, you might end up in a paid role and something further. So much there. And thank you all so much for all. I'm just going to stop the recording just now because I'd love to put a poll up for our student that's in the session just now.